The crown you fix. First, have you ever noticed how we're all walking around with invisible crowns? Some days they're tilted, some days they're barely hanging on, and some days, if we're being honest, they've fallen completely off. But here's the thing about crowns that I learned from my recent conversation with Nyesha Palmer. You can't fix someone else's crown if yours is broken. When I sat down with Nyesha Palmer, I expected wisdom. What I didn't expect was a masterclass in authentic self care that would fundamentally transform how I understand personal growth. Nyesha isn't just a thought leader, she's a revolutionary who's challenging the very foundation of how we show up in the world, especially for those of us who've spent decades being everything to everyone except ourselves. The first person you need to be loyal to is yourself, Nyesha told me, her voice carrying the weight of someone who'd learned this truth the hard way. Because if you're not loyal to yourself, how can you possibly show up authentically for anyone else? Let that sink in for a moment. Really sink in. We live in a world that celebrates martyrdom, especially for Black women. We're expected to carry families, communities, workplaces, and still somehow have enough left to carry ourselves. We wear our exhaustion like badges of honor. I'm so tired has become our collective anthem, hasn't it? But what if, and this is revolutionary, what if being tired isn't actually a badge of honor? What if it's a warning sign? This is where the first pillar of Naisha's wisdom comes in, prioritizing self loyalty and healing. It sounds simple, but for many of us, it's anything but. Think about Cafe Momentum in Dallas. This remarkable program works with at risk youth between 15 and 19 years old, many coming from incarceration or unstable homes. What makes this program extraordinary isn't just that they teach culinary skills, it's that they understand something fundamental about transformation. Before these young people can build stable lives, they need to heal their wounds. I visited Cafe Momentum last year and watched as teenagers who'd been told they were nothing but statistics transformed into confident young professionals. One young man told me, before I came here, I didn't know I was allowed to care about myself. I thought caring about myself was selfish. His words hit me like a thunderbolt. The program focuses on holistic development, teaching not just professional skills, but social emotional wellness and self care practices. They create a space where these young people can be loyal to themselves first, perhaps for the first time ever. The results? Hundreds of youth transitioning into stable employment and healthier lifestyles. The program has expanded nationally because it works. Why does it work? Because it addresses the person before the problem. How many of us are trying to solve everyone else's problems while ignoring the bleeding wounds in our own lives? We're out here trying to save the world with bandages falling off our own cuts. You cannot clean someone else's wounds, Nyesha emphasized during our conversation, when your hands are dirty from neglecting your own. This isn't selfishness, it's sustainability. It's the difference between helping others from a place of depletion versus helping from a place of fullness. Consider Chef Naisha Arrington, who has become an influential leader in the culinary world. As a woman of color in a male dominated industry, she faced tremendous bias and pressure. But what makes her story remarkable isn't just her success, it's how she achieved it. Instead of conforming to aggressive leadership styles often expected in professional kitchens, Nyesha focused first on uplifting her own voice through creative expression rooted in her heritage. She openly discusses mental health struggles among chefs and advocates for authenticity and kindness, starting with being kind to herself. Today, she's celebrated nationally and internationally, hosting major awards like the James Beard Awards and using her platform to mentor emerging talent. Her journey shows us what's possible when we love ourselves fiercely enough to gloss up that smile, even under pressure. But let's be real, this self loyalty thing isn't easy. It requires something that many of us struggle with: boundaries. Boundaries aren't walls, Nyesha Palmer told me. They're bridges to the relationships you actually want, including the one with yourself. This brings us to her second pillar of wisdom: embracing self love with grace. What does it mean to love yourself with grace? It means putting yourself at the top of your priority list without guilt. It means treating yourself with the same kindness you so readily offer others. And sometimes this part might sound strange. It means learning to date yourself. Yes, date yourself, take yourself out, buy yourself flowers, speak kindly to yourself in the mirror, celebrate your wins no matter how small. These aren't acts of narcissism, they're acts of necessary nurturing. There's a mental health professional whose story perfectly illustrates this. At 26, she received a devastating tumor diagnosis that shattered her dreams of biological motherhood. After 10 years with her partner, including 2 years of marriage, the relationship ended painfully, adding betrayal and public shame to her already heavy burden. What did she do? She chose radical self kindness over bitterness. She sought therapy. She prioritized her personal joy above external validation. And slowly, she rebuilt her identity outside of relationships. She learned how to date herself. The outcome wasn't just survival, it was transformation. Her emotional recovery enabled a renewed purpose, helping clients heal themselves. Today, she advocates openly about vulnerability among Black women professionals, showing others that they too can clean their wounds first before saving anyone else. This isn't just a nice story, it's a roadmap. It shows us that embracing self love with grace is how we break cycles of bitterness and loneliness. It's how we stop begging others for love and start giving it to ourselves first. But what about those moments when self love feels impossible? When anxiety feels like a weight on your chest so heavy you can barely breathe? When the crown isn't just tilted, it's been stomped on? This is where Nyesha Palmer's third pillar comes in: leaning on faith during tough times. When your body feels so heavy with worry that you can barely move, she said, that is when you need to surrender that burden through prayer or whatever spiritual practice speaks to you. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting that you're seen, heard, and supported by something greater than yourself. It's about knowing that even when your crown is broken, you're still royalty in the eyes of God. For many of us, especially Black women professionals, faith has been our anchor through generations of storms. It's what our grandmothers taught us, it's what sustained our mothers, and it's what will carry us through our own valleys. But here's what's interesting about faith in the context of self loyalty: it actually gives us permission to put ourselves first. Because when we understand that we are divinely created, worthy of love and care just as we are, prioritizing ourselves becomes an act of honoring that divine creation. This isn't prosperity gospel or self help platitudes. This is a radical notion that maybe, just maybe, God wants you to rest. Maybe God wants you to heal. Maybe God is more concerned with your wholeness than your hustle. So, what does all this mean for you sitting here right now? It means that the soft girl era isn't just a trend, It's a spiritual, emotional, and mental recalibration. It's permission to drop the superwoman cape that's been suffocating you. It's learning that softness is not weakness, it's a radical act of self love. It means understanding that saying no without guilt is not just possible, it's necessary. It means guarding your energy with the fierceness of someone who knows their worth. It means reclaiming your identity, not the version shaped by family expectations, church roles, or boardroom rules, but the real you that's been waiting to bloom. So today, I'm not just sharing Nyesha Palmer's wisdom. I'm inviting you to join a revolution where we recognize that our healing isn't selfish, it's sacred, where we understand that our rest isn't lazy, it's revolutionary, where we acknowledge that our crowns have always been there. Sometimes they just need a little adjusting. I challenge you to take one step this week, just one, toward fixing your own crown. Maybe it's scheduling that therapy appointment you've been putting off. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's simply allowing yourself 5 minutes of silence each morning to reconnect with who you really are. Whatever it is, do it with the understanding that you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for everyone you touch. Because when your crown shines, it illuminates the path for others. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about the courage to say, I matter too. It's about the wisdom to understand that the most revolutionary thing you can do in a world that wants you depleted is to show up whole. So fix your crown first, not because you're selfish, but because you're strategic, not because you're narcissistic, but because you're necessary, not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that true strength begins with self care. The world doesn't need more martyrs. It needs more whole people who lead from a place of fullness, not fracture. It needs you, the real you, the healed you, the you with your crown firmly in place. Are you ready to join the revolution? Are you ready to fix your crown first? The world is waiting for your light. Don't keep it waiting any longer.